What's good, gamers? It's Trayvon. Every Ironman knows that quests are one of the biggest early hurdles. Even though you might personally think questing is awful, there are some you should never skip if you want to play the game at least relatively efficiently. First, let's start off with important skilling unlocks. Druidic Ritual is arguably one of the most important quests in the entire game for Ironmen specifically, because without it, you're literally locked out of an entire skill. That being Herblore. As an Ironman, Herblore is essential to PvM because you'll be able to make potions like Ceradome and Brews all the way to prayer potions. At the time of this video, Sailing is just about to release. When Sailing does release though, you're going to want to do the quest The Pandemonium. This is the quest that introduces and unlocks the skill to you and will teach you how to sail, dock at a port, and show you a ton of other gameplay features that Sailing has to offer. Technically, Rune Mysteries isn't required at all for rune crafting. You can actually level and get 99 rune crafting without doing the quest. However, you won't be able to mine rune essence, so you won't be able to use the Abyss or use essence pouches. Therefore, I'm going to say that this quest is basically unlocking the ability to truly train the skill. Speaking of rune crafting, another quest that massively helps you train the skill is Temple of the Eye. This quest will unlock one of the best minigames in the entire game, which is Guardians of the Rift. Guardians of the Rift is so good that it's pretty common to hear that it's the only thing that made rune crafting bearable for many people. The rewards are incredible for Ironmen too. You can get elemental talismans that give you access to all the elemental rune altars, or a catalytic talisman that gives you access to all the catalytic altars if you've also done the quests for any specific one, not to mention the colossal pouch that combines all of your rune pouches into one, or the Raiment of the Eye skilling outfit that gives you 60% extra runes when you have the full set equipped. Another minigame that is huge for skilling is Giant's Foundry. This is a smithing minigame that you can unlock after completing the Sleeping Giants quest. Personally, this is what I use to get 99 smithing because staying at Blast Furnace for hours is just pure brain poison, and the rewards you can get from this minigame are actually pretty decent as well. Some of them are the smithing outfit that will speed up smithing actions at an anvil by 1 tick, and the double ammo mold for making cannonballs at double the speed. Ictharin's Little Helper is pretty huge for thieving if you're looking for another minigame to add to your arsenal. After completing the quest, you're able to access Pyramid Plunder. It's a minigame where you basically just loot a pyramid as fast as you can, but it's generally not recommended to do this minigame until 91 plus thieving so that you'll have access to all of the pyramid chambers and thus the highest XP rates. You can get around 275k XP per hour at maximum efficiency. In the minigame, you also have a chance to loot a Pharaoh Scepter from the sarcophagi, which you can use to teleport all over the desert, or you can use it to create an ancient altar or an occult altar in your house to swap spell books. It's also a master clue item, so you'll definitely want to get 2 of these. The Riveting Tale of a Lily Pad Labor Dispute is unironically one of the best written quests in the entire game, so I'm not going to spoil anything about what happens, but one of the rewards for completing this quest is an additional hard tree patch that you can add to your tree runs, so it should help you get 99 farming a little bit faster. If you've already unlocked Miscellanea, you should aim to complete Royal Trouble ASAP. Why? This is because the quest is going to give you increased resources from Miscellanea. If there is a skill that you absolutely hate training and still want to level up, though incredibly slowly, go ahead and do Tears of Guthix. You'll be able to unlock the Tears of Guthix minigame that will give you experience in your lowest skill once a week. You'll only have a certain amount of time to play play the minigame once you start it every week, and the time you're given is dependent on the amount of quest points that you currently have. Lunar Diplomacy will allow you to unlock the Lunar Spellbook on completion. It's more of a skilling-based spellbook, and if you want to use some of the best training methods to level crafting, for example, you should 100% unlock the spellbook since you'll be making a lot of use out of Super Glass Make specifically. Family Crest, along with completion of the mini quest Family Pest, is going to give you 3 different gloves, each one benefiting a specific skill. The Cooking Gauntlets will reduce the chance of you burning certain foods, lobster, swordfish, monkfish, sharks, anglerfish, and kayat. The Goldsmith Gauntlet will increase your experience from smelting gold by 150%, making it mandatory for smithing training at the blast furnace. And the Chaos Gauntlets will increase the damage done by bolt spells by 3, and it actually stacks with the Tome of Fire and Imbued Slayer Helmet, which can pretty easily get you a max hit of 25 at lower levels, which is stupid OP at the early game. If you're into boosting your levels and aren't the biggest fan of construction, you're going to want to complete the Eyes of Glaufree. At the end of the quest, you'll get a Crystal Saw Seed that you can use to get an enchanted Crystal Saw. It allows you to make items that require a saw to be made 3 levels above your construction level. On completion of Death on the Isle, you'll be able to go to the costumer in the backstage of Villa Lucen's theater in Aldaran to get a costume needle. It essentially acts as an unlimited needle and thread and lets you craft items without needing any thread whatsoever, obviously making it huge for crafting. It's not fun having areas of the map locked off to you, so it's time to go over quests that will unlock some areas for you. Completing Children of the Sun will allow you to unlock the biggest area in recent years, Varlamore. So big, in fact, that it had to be released in 3 different parts. Unlocking Varlamore will give you a ridiculous amount of content, from Hunter's Rumors to a new world boss called the Huicatl, mid-game content like the Moons of Peril, all the way to endgame content like the Colosseum and the Doom of Macchiato. Song of the Elves is one of the main goals on an Ironman for a reason. With it, you'll unlock the city of Triftinus, in which you'll be able to kill the skilling boss Zalcano for a huge amount of smithing resources, or you can do the Gauntlet. The Corrupted Gauntlet is arguably the first real PVM grind that many Ironmen do, so that they'll get their hands on the Bofa, a game-changing weapon that will practically carry you to the end game until you're able to get your hands on a twisted bow. Darkmire is a city that you can unlock after completing Sins of the Father. It unlocks some pretty crucial skilling methods on your Ironman, some of which are the Hollowed Sepulchre, which is arguably some of the best, most engaging skilling content that's ever been released in the game. For training agility specifically, Dialt Essence for training rune crafting, where the essence gives you 50% extra experience per essence. This bonus actually stacks multiplicatively with the 70% bonus at the ZMI altar for a total bonus of 155% extra experience. You'll even be able to farm for blood shards that can be used to create a blood fury that heals you when doing melee damage. The amulet grants a passive 20% chance to heal 30% of the damage dealt on any hit. Fossil Island is another unlock you're going to want on your account, which you can unlock after completing Bone Voyage. Why do you want Fossil Island? Because Fossil Island is where you'll be doing birdhouses for bird nests to make Cerebrews with, and for farming giant seaweed for crafting. If you're going to seriously train smithing, you're going to want to complete Giant Dwarf so that you'll have access to the Blast Furnace. The Blast Furnace is the meta for turning your ores into bars and for training smithing in general with gold and the Goldsmith Gauntlets. While Royal Trouble will unlock increased resources from Miscellanea, to unlock Miscellanea in the first place, you're going to have to complete Fremenic Trials. Shiloh Village is straight up required if you're a Slayer enjoyer. By completing this quest, you'll be able to talk to Duradel after your combat level is 100 or above, and you'll be able to mine the gem rocks, which is going to be your main source of red topaz. Red topaz is what you're going to use to make slaughter bracelets, which gives you a 25% chance of a kill not counting towards completion of your Slayer task, effectively extending your task. If you're going to want to level herb lore effectively, you're going to want all of the herb patches unlocked. By completing Great Brain Robbery, you'll be able to go to Harmony Island, which is where one of the herb patches is. Sadly, you're going to need to have completed the Mauritania Elite Diary as well to actually use this patch. Troll Stronghold is pretty huge in terms of PVM unlocks and in terms of utility. You'll be able to make law runes, which will allow you to teleport all around the game, and you'll unlock the God Wars dungeon, which will give you incredibly good gear that is also used to make some of the best in slot armor in the game. Next up are the quests that are going to reward you with items that will improve your PVM experience. Eventually, you're going to want to kill Zulrah for a blowpipe to use during PVM. Blowpipes use darts, and to make darts, the Tourist Trap is a quest you'll have to complete. When it comes to PVM, for the vast majority of cases, DPS is going to be king, and to achieve the best DPS possible, you're going to want to be in the Arceus spellbook in 99% of cases. This is because the spellbook gives you access to thralls that you can unlock after completion of a Kingdom Divided. They're essentially a free 0.66 DPS. Completion of King's Ransom will allow you to access the Night Waves training activity. On completion of this activity, you'll be able to use Piety, which is going to account for one of your biggest DPS increases for the melee combat style on your account. With the release of Defender of Varrock, it brought us a weapon that bridged the gap between the Dragon Scimitar and the Abyssal Whip, the Zombie Axe. This weapon drops from armored zombies at a rate of 1 in 800 and is definitely worth going for. If you don't get this weapon, you'll likely be using a Dragon Scimitar or potentially even a weapon from Moons of Peril until you're able to get your hands on a whip at 85 Slayer. If you're finally looking to start your raiding journey, Tombs of a Masket is a good start. It has customizable difficulty with the invocation system, so you don't even need best in slot or even close to it to complete it consistently. Beneath Cursed Sands is what you'll need to unlock the raid. If you complete Secrets of the North, you'll unlock a seriously underrated boss known as the Phantom Muspa. The Phantom Muspa is good because of the incredible supplies it'll drop, like tons of seeds, elks, and ancient essence for upgrading an imbued heart if you were lucky enough to get one, and Venator shards to create the Venator bow. The bow is incredibly good because of the passive effect, which requires ancient essence that allows arrows to bounce to multiple targets, making it fantastic for the Colosseum if you happen to not have a twisted bow. Completing Dragon Slayer 2 gives you 2 huge rewards, one being the Myth skill that has a bunch of utility like the closest cooking range to a bank in the game, or Forecast, where you're able to get Forecast's head, which is guaranteed at 50 KC, to upgrade your Ava's Accumulator to Ava's Assembler, the second best in slot cape for range. At this point, I feel like I've praised Moons of Peril in almost every one of my videos, but completing Perilous Moons so that you can access Moons of Peril is worth it, even if it isn't completely efficient. It'll provide you with some very decent gear that you can take all the way into raids with you. It's only recently that I completely replaced the magic armor I was routinely taking with me into the Chambers of Xeric as I do my Twisted Bow grind, since the magic armor is a great hybrid set for melee and magic, reducing switches. Hell, the loot mechanics alone makes the grind for completing a full set a way faster alternative than trying to complete an entire Barrows set. It's essentially Barrows 2.0. If you ever plan on killing demons for any long period of time, While Gothic Sleeps should be on your list for completion, especially with the recent addition of the endgame demonic bosses, Yama and the Doom of Macchiato. You're going to want to craft the Ember Light, the upgrade of Arc Light, no longer requiring charges, and the Scorching Bow. At a minimum. As Ironmen, I don't think it's ever worth going out of your way to make cannonballs with how fast they're used, but at some point you're going to have a stockpile from monster drops. Completing Dwarf Cannon is going to let you unlock the Dwarf Multi-Cannon, which is ridiculously OP in any area you're allowed to use it. If this were pulled today, there's no way it would pass. Animal Magnetism is pretty much the ranging quest. This is the quest where you'll receive your first two Ava's devices, the Attractor and the Accumulator, which are back items that allow you to automatically recover range ammo that have been used. Slug Menace is going to give you some of the best prayer armor you'll use on an Ironman, the Proselyte set. You'll use this armor all the way until endgame because it is commonly used for completing Slayer tasks where you might be using protection prayers to complete. It'll save a ton of food and prayer pots and let you AFK while auto-retaliating for even longer than normal. The Haunted Mine is a quest you're going to want to complete whenever you think you're going to be fighting a ton of undead. This is because the quest allows you to make salve amulets, which increases your attack and strength by 16.67% against undead when unimbued, 20% when enchanted, and imbuing the amulet allows these bonuses to apply to the magic and ranged attack styles. Cabin Fever is what you're going to want to complete before you seriously dive into Slayer. This is because on quest completion, you'll be able to kill cave horrors, which drop the Black Mask. The Black Mask gives you a 16.67% attack and strength boost against all monsters on your current Slayer task, and when imbued, this boost will apply to the ranged and magic styles, similar to the imbuing process for the Salve Amulet. Completion of Monkey Madness 1 has always been a rite of passage in my opinion. This quest rewards you with the opportunity to purchase and use the iconic Dragon Scimitar. If you didn't have a Dragon Skimmy as your mouse courser back in the day, what were you even doing? The completion of Recipe for Disaster also rewards you with an iconic item, the Barrow's Gloves. Not only will you no longer look like a complete noob when you have these on instead of a combat bracelet, but your account is going to be in a great place since it is going to be so well-rounded from completion of all of the sub-quests that you'll have to do. I've gotten Barrow's Gloves years ago and I still use them to this day as my main option for ranging. Desert Treasure 1 to this day is by far one of my favorite quests. Coincidentally, it also gives you an iconic reward, the Ancient Spellbook. You're going to want this spellbook if you ever plan to burst and or ice barrage your Slayer tasks for some incredibly fast Slayer and magic experience. Desert Treasure 2, on the other hand, is also great for Ironmen on completion, not only for the chance at killing the bosses for the best in slot rings, but also the chance to use the Scar Essence Mine. So this quest could also go on the skilling unlock section. The Scar Essence Mine was Jagex's solution to shopscaping thousands of runes. This activity is mainly meant for when you're higher leveled since it's so expensive, but it'll allow you to make thousands and thousands of runes in a short amount of time. The catch is that you're going to pay more on average for certain runes. For example, do not use the mine for crafting astral runes. You will be scammed because they go from 55 GP per rune to 200 GP per rune. And last up, I'm going to have to recommend The Final Dawn. This was one of the most recently released quests, but on completion, you'll be getting the Arcan Blade, which is a great DPS spec weapon for mid-game accounts, and you'll unlock access to the endgame boss, the Doom of Macchiato, a demonic praying mantis that can drop the best boots in the game, the best in slot magic gloves, and the second best in slot magic weapon. To finish everything off, we have the quests that are going to give you some transportation options so you can have an easier time getting around the game. Starting off, we have Plague City, which is going to let you use the Arduine teleport, letting you no longer completely rely on the Arduine cloak to get there. Completing Edgar's Ruse is going to give you access to the Trollheim teleport spell, which is what you'll be using during your first steps into the God Wars dungeon. Ghosts Ahoy is going to reward you with the Ectophile on completion, teleporting you right outside of Port Phasmatis in Mauritania, and relatively close to some farming patches that you'll be needing. Completing Tree Gnome Village will reward you with one of the best transportation systems in the game, the Spirit Trees. Completing the Grand Tree is going to let you use the gnome gliders. I don't use them very often, but they do come in pretty clutch for certain clue scrolls. You'll also be able to use the spirit tree in the gnome stronghold. For access to fairy rings, you'll only need to partially complete Fairy Tale Part 2. It's the quest where you'll be introduced to your friend who's going to be with you for hundreds of hours, the Draymond Staff. To get around Korand, Client of Korand should definitely be completed. Once you finish this quest, you'll be able to use the Korand Castle teleport spell, and you'll be able to use Kerdist's Memoirs, which is a book that allows you to teleport to each of the 4 Korand houses. A Taste of Hope is what you're going to want to complete because you'll be using its reward, the Draken's Medallion, pretty often once you start to PVM in Mauritania. The medallion gives you unlimited teleports to Theater of Blood, Darkmire, and Sleep. Sleep once you get a sleepy tablet. Monkey Madness 2 could be in a few sections due to the rewards you'll get. There's actually a ton of rewards, but the ones we'll be focusing on are the ability to kill demonic gorillas that drop Zenite shards that you can use to craft near best in slot to best in slot jewelry, a royal seed pod that gives you unlimited teleports to the Grand Tree, and it's one of the only teleports that is usable at up to level 30 wilderness, and you can use the maniacal monkey hunting training method, which is relatively AFK. While Rat Catchers is definitely one of the worst quests in the game, one of the rewards you'll get on completion is the ability to teleport to many of the rat pits throughout the game. And lastly, we have Shade of Morton. One of the rewards from this quest is the ability to use the minigame teleport for the Shades of Morton. Many people like to use this teleport because it's relatively close to Barrows. And those are all the most essential quests I think you should be doing as an Ironman. Let me know if you think I might have missed any important ones, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.